with the Russian economy, we have their current budget problems with their war in Ukraine. Russian revenue has fallen 22%, while spending rose by 26% compared to the same time last year. So we're seeing a massive divergence in revenue versus spending. And Russia has forecasted a budget deficit that will reach $43 billion in 2023. And this is 1/3 of the state spending that they were expected to go to defense and security. So it's a really massive explosion of their budget deficit. Total government spending in 2022 amounted to 31 trillion rubles, exceeding the pre-war forecast by over 1/3, and the amount spent in 2021 by over 1/4. So we're seeing a real explosion of their spending here, trying to keep up with the West's continued support into Ukraine.
Yeah.
You know,
they need to keep their war effort fueled.
And then the question is, how is Russia affording this? How is Russia financing all of this? Obviously, some of it is through deficit spending, but they are raising money. And where is Putin raising the money from? Well, recently, Russia is dealing with a massive decrease in their revenues because of the international price cap that we've put on Russian oil. So the European countries and the United States is still buying Russian oil, but they're only buying it at a specific set price under the market value, which is meaning that a lot of money that Russia should be making off their oil is just not coming in. And then on top of that, we have the dropping costs of fuel prices globally anyway that we talked in the CPI report. The massive commodities that Russia exports is getting crushed. And on top of this, their big exports. What are Russians' big exports? Grain, wheat, lumber, metals. All of these commodities are dropping in price on the international market. So this is their budget collapsing in front of them. And this is something that they could have really estimated. This is just the market doing its thing.
Sure.
And so now, what is Putin doing to try to raise more money? Well, he's putting in place a lot of windfall taxes on the state corporations. On one state-owned corporation, Gazprom, which is a massive oil company, they're putting on 1.5 trillion ruble windfall tax. Just taking money out of that, really going after the profits that they've made. And this is going to decrease the amount of investment being made in the local economy because now it's going right to the war effort.
Yeah.
You're trading butter for guns.
Exactly.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. And just for the listeners, that windfall tax of 1.5 trillion, that's about $20 billion.
Yeah.
So imagine the US government just saying, no, Microsoft, we're going to pluck $20 billion just from your war chest because we actually decided we need it more.
Right. And they're only using this money for guns.
Yeah.
Right. They're only using this money for guns. They're not using it for anything else. And it's because of the continued support from NATO, the US, the G7, because of our continued support to Ukraine. That's why Russia's in this position that they need to be taking all this money out of their economy. And he's really just it's almost like he's emptying his country from the inside out.
Yeah. To me, it makes the oil price cap from the G7 seem like a really good idea, because if you do something like try to eliminate buying Russian oil entirely, first of all, you're risking deindustrialization of some of these Western countries that have been so dependent on Russia.
Sure.
But you're also potentially prompting a much harsher reaction from the Russian side. By capping the price on oil, you're still hamstringing their economy, but you're reducing the risk. You're mitigating that much better.
And you're also stopping the creation of like a black market for the oil, right? Because if you were going to say no oil, no way, we're not taking any Russian oil.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, maybe it's worth investing like $40 billion to try and get around this. But if you're going to only put a price cap on it, it no longer makes that $40 billion investment trying to create a black market alternative worth it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really the perfect recipe. It really is.
I like it.
And now Russia's getting screwed. And the people of Russia are starting to get a little mad because of the internal economic situation. We have some labor strikes going on in the middle of Russia, specifically in the automotive industry, which is really great to see. They had a sit-in and a lockout of one auto company. And it was from a Russian news source, which I thought was pretty funny. And in it, they were talking about the NATO invasion of Russia,
Wow.
referring to the war in Ukraine. And I just think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I guess Ukraine is Russian territory.
Of course.
And NATO invaded it, I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's Russia falling apart from the inside out. And this is the country that China thinks that they can recouple with to replace the United States.
I mean, it's their only hope at the moment, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they have no hope.
No.
That's true. That's true.
It's the anti-China show here, folks.